Welcome back to the Tech Infi Wire channel. Today, we're diving deep, into work breakdown structures, these blueprints for project success.
Yeah, those WBSs everybody's talking about these days.
Exactly.
And we'll be pulling from a guide by LearnXYZ. It just came out on January 22nd, 2025.
So recent. You know how sometimes a project can just feel like this massive, overwhelming beast?
Oh, yeah.
A WBS can help tame that beast
Yeah.
by breaking it down into those bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, it's all about clarity. When everybody knows exactly what needs to get done and how their piece fits into the bigger picture, projects just run smoother, and you're way more likely to succeed.
Okay, but let's back up a sec. What is a WBS?
Okay, so think of it this way. Imagine you're building a house. You wouldn't just start laying blocks without a detailed plan, right?
Definitely not. I'd probably end up with a wonky, unstable mess.
Exactly. A WBS is that detailed plan for a project. It outlines every step, from the foundation to the finishing touches.
Gotcha. So if the WBS is the blueprint, then what are the key building blocks that make it up?
Well, first, you need a solid foundation. In this case, that's the project scope statement. This is what defines the boundaries of your project, what's included and what's not.
Right, so we're setting clear expectations right from the start to avoid scope creep.
Yeah,
And those dreaded, but I thought that was included conversations later on.
exactly. Then you've got the deliverables. These are the tangible outcomes of your project.
So for our house analogy,
Yeah.
a deliverable would be something like the completed foundation or a finished roof.
Exactly. And to make these deliverables manageable, we break them down further into work packages. These are the specific tasks that need to be completed to achieve each deliverable.
So for that completed foundation deliverable, a work package might be excavate the foundation,
Yeah.
pour the concrete.
You got it. And to keep everything organized, we arrange these components into a hierarchical structure.
Okay, so it's kind of like a family tree with the project goal at the top.
Yeah.
And then branches representing the deliverables and sub-deliverables.
Precisely. Each level gets more granular until you reach the most specific work packages at the bottom.
I'm starting to see how this whole thing can make a project feel way less overwhelming. But let's talk about the practical benefits for our listeners. How does a WBS actually translate into a smoother, more successful project?
Well, as we talked about, clarity and collaboration are huge. A WBS acts as a shared roadmap for everybody, ensuring that everyone's on the same page about their responsibilities, deadlines, and how their work contributes to that overall goal.
Meaning fewer misunderstandings and missed deadlines and those, frantic last-minute scrambles that we all dread.
Yeah, for sure. Another key benefit is better budgeting. When you break tasks down into those smaller units, you can estimate costs way more accurately and allocate resources more efficiently.
So WBS can help prevent those budget blowouts that can
Right.
really derail even those promising projects.
Absolutely. It's not just about preventing overspending, though. It's about maximizing the value you get from your resources. Some studies even suggest that. A well-designed WBS can improve resource utilization by as much as 30%.
Wow, 30%. That's a significant boost in efficiency. I'm guessing that ties back to having a clear understanding of what needs to be done and when, minimizing wasted effort and duplicated work.
Exactly. And there's another major benefit we haven't even talked about yet: risk management.
Okay, tell me more.
So by dissecting your project into these smaller components, you're much more likely to spot potential risks early on before they can snowball into big problems.
So it's like having a built-in early warning system that helps you anticipate and mitigate those potential roadblocks.
Exactly. A WBS makes you think through each step of the project, identify dependencies, potential bottlenecks, and alternative approaches if things don't go as planned.
I'm really starting to see the magic of WBS. It's not just about breaking down a project. It's about understanding it inside and out at every level.
You got it. It's about proactively addressing those potential issues instead of reactively putting out fires.
Speaking of resources, if any of our listeners are looking to dive deeper into WBS and project management, I highly recommend checking out LearnXYZ-In. They've got a fantastic collection of guides and resources to help you level up your project management game.
It's a great resource. They cover everything from the fundamentals to advanced techniques, and it's all presented in a really clear and concise way.
All right, so let's say I'm convinced and I'm ready to start building my own WBS. Where do I even begin?
The first step, like we mentioned before, is defining your project scope. You need to have those crystal clear goals, deliverables, and requirements.
Okay, so we're setting the stage and laying the groundwork for everything that follows.
Exactly. Then once you've got that solid scope statement, you can start identifying those major deliverables, the key outcomes that mark the project's progress.
And then we start breaking those deliverables down into smaller and smaller chunks, like assembling a puzzle.
Precisely. And it helps to use a coding system to label each element so you can easily track those dependencies and refer back to specific components later on.
So we've mapped out our WBS, meticulously labeled every piece of the puzzle. What's next?
Validation. This means getting feedback from all your stakeholders, your team clients, anyone who has a vested interest in the project.
That makes sense. We want to make sure everyone's on the same page and that we haven't overlooked any critical details or potential challenges.
Right. Multiple perspectives are super valuable at this stage. It's about catching those blind spots and refining the plan before you move forward.
Okay, so we've got this beautifully crafted WBS, validated by everyone involved. Are we done? Can we just kick back and watch the project unfold flawlessly?
Well, not quite. Projects are dynamic, things change, new information comes up, risks pop up. A WBS isn't meant to be static. It needs to adapt along with the project.
So it's not a one-time thing. It's more of an ongoing process. We need to keep our fingers on the pulse and be ready to make adjustments as we go. So when should we be reviewing and updating our WBS?
Regular check-ins are really important. It's a good idea to review your WBS at those key milestones or phase transitions in the project.
Okay, that makes sense. Like taking a step back and seeing, are we still on track or do we need to adjust our route based on what's ahead?
Exactly. It's also a good idea to make WBS review a regular part of your project status meetings.
So it becomes part of the ongoing conversation, keeping everyone aware of the big picture and how their work fits in.
Precisely. And of course, anytime there's a significant scope change, you'll need to revisit your WBS and make sure it still reflects the reality of the project.
Right, because even small adjustments can have ripple effects throughout the entire project. We need to be mindful of those downstream impacts.
Absolutely. And remember, your stakeholders might request a review at any time. It's important to be responsive to their needs and concerns.
Collaboration is key as always. So let's talk about the how of reviewing and updating the WBS. What does that process actually look like?
The most important thing is to get the right people involved. Gather your team members, especially those who are directly responsible for those work packages.
Right, they're the ones on the ground, seeing firsthand how things are progressing and what challenges come up.
Exactly. Work together to verify that all the deliverables and tasks still align with those overall project objectives.
Because sometimes as the project evolves, priorities can shift. Or new information comes to light that forces us to reevaluate certain aspects.
Exactly. And don't forget to update dependencies and timelines as needed based on the revised WBS.
Well, that's crucial.
Yeah.
If one task is delayed, it can trigger a domino effect, impacting a whole chain of tasks that follow.
Precisely. By regularly reviewing and updating your WBS, you make sure it stays a reliable roadmap for that entire project lifecycle.
It's like having this living, breathing document that guides the project from start to finish, adapting to the ever-changing landscape.
Speaking of the evolution of WBS, it's actually fascinating to think about where this concept came from.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more. I love a little history lesson.
Well, did you know that the concept of the WBS actually emerged from the U.S. Department of Defense back in the 1960s?
Wow, really? So it's got its roots in some pretty complex and high-stakes projects. Makes sense that they would need such a robust system to manage all those moving parts.
Exactly. And here's another interesting tidbit. A well-designed WBS can improve resource utilization by up to 30%.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier. But it's worth repeating just how significant that is. That's a huge increase in efficiency, all thanks to a well-structured approach to project planning.
It really highlights the power of breaking down those complex tasks into those manageable chunks, clarifying responsibilities and optimizing resource allocation.
I can see how it all ties together. And the fact that WBS is actually mandatory for these large-scale projects in industries like aerospace and defense really speaks volumes about its effectiveness.
Absolutely. When you're dealing with projects of that scale and complexity, you absolutely need a rock-solid framework to keep everything on track and minimize the risk of costly overruns or delays.
So WBS isn't just some theoretical concept. It's a proven method that's been really instrumental in the success of some of the most ambitious projects in history.
Exactly. And what's even more exciting is that it's not limited to those massive undertakings. WBS is a valuable tool for projects of all shapes and sizes across a wide range of industries.
Absolutely. From building a website to planning a marketing campaign, those principles of WBS can be applied to pretty much any project where you need to break down complex goals into those actionable steps.
Exactly. And in fact, I'd argue that even for smaller personal projects, adopting a WBS approach can bring so much clarity and structure, making them less daunting and increasing your chances of success.
I love that perspective. It's not just about those big corporate initiatives. It's about empowering individuals to really take control of their projects, whether they're planning a home renovation or launching a side hustle.
Precisely. It's about making project management accessible and empowering, no matter the scale or complexity.
And speaking of empowering,
Yeah.
for our listeners who are really eager to explore the world of project management and WBS further, highly recommend checking out LearnXYZ-In. They have a wealth of information there that can help you take those skills to the next level.
They really do. Their guides cover a wide range of project management methodologies and tools, making them a one-stop shop for anyone looking to boost their PM skills.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basic principles of WBS to its origins and its applications. Let's recap some key takeaways for our listeners.
Absolutely. First and foremost, remember that WBS is not just for giant corporations or complex projects. It's a powerful tool that can benefit anyone, regardless of their experience or the size of their project.
Right. It's all about breaking down your project into those manageable chunks, creating a clear roadmap for success.
And by doing so, you gain a whole host of benefits, like improved clarity, better collaboration, more accurate budget and timeline estimates, and a more robust approach to risk management.
And ultimately, that translates into a higher chance of actually achieving your project goals on time and within budget.
Exactly. But remember, a WBS isn't a set-it-and-forget-it kind of thing. It's an evolving document that should be regularly reviewed and updated throughout the project.
That's such an important point. Flexibility and adaptability are key to navigating the ever-changing landscape of any project.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Ooh, I always love a good thought-provoking question. Those are the moments that often spark the most valuable insights. What's the question?
Think about a project you're currently working on, or one that you're planning to start. How could applying these principles of WBS transform your approach and potentially lead to even better outcomes?
That's a great question to ponder. It really encourages you to think about the power of a well-structured approach and how it can really elevate your project management game.
And it's not just about the end result. It's about the journey itself. A well-defined WBS can make that journey smoother, less stressful, and more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, it really does. It's so easy to just get caught up in the excitement of a new project and just want to dive right in head first. But taking the time to build that solid WBS foundation can really make a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. And to illustrate that point, I think it'd be helpful to look at some real-world examples of WBS in action.
Great idea. And actually, the LearnXYZ guide includes a couple of sample WBS outlines, one for software development and one for building a house.
Perfect. Let's take a look.
Okay, so for the software project example, they've broken the whole process down into these major phases, like project initiation requirements, analysis, system design, development, testing, deployment, and even maintenance and support.
Yeah, and you can see how much detail they've managed to pack into each of those phases.
It's impressive.
Right. And if we zoom in even further, we see all these more specific tasks within each phase, like gathering user requirements, developing the back-end and front-end code, conducting different types of testing. It's all laid out in that clear hierarchical structure.
And the house building example is equally impressive. It covers every step, from getting permits and site prep to the core construction phases like foundation, framing, roofing, all the way to the finishing touches like utilities, painting, landscaping. It even includes those final steps like inspections and handover.
And what I find really fascinating is how they've broken down those seemingly simple tasks even further. You know, something like install windows and doors is actually divided into subtasks like choosing the materials, ordering them, scheduling the installation, and so on.
It really shows you just how much goes into even the smallest details of a project, and how a WBS can help you account for all of it.
Exactly. It forces you to think through each and every step so nothing slips through the cracks. And it's that level of detail that leads to better planning, smoother execution, and a much higher chance of achieving your project goals.
It's like they say, the devil is in the details. And a WBS can help you exercise those devils.
I love that. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm seeing WBS in a whole new light.
That's great to hear. It seems simple at first, but it's got such incredible depth and power when you really dig in.
And speaking of digging in, For our listeners who want to learn even more about WBS and project management, I highly recommend checking out LearnXYZ-In. They have so many resources there to help you take your project management skills to a whole new level.
I agree, they really do. Whether you're a seasoned project manager or just starting out, you'll find valuable insights there to help you master the art of the WBS.
Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of work breakdown structures. It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. We've covered so much. But the key takeaway here is WBS is a powerful tool that can truly transform how you approach projects of any size.
It's about bringing clarity, structure, and control to what can often be a chaotic and overwhelming process.
And remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You want to tailor your WBS to your specific project, and it should evolve as your project does.
Right, flexibility is key. So as you start your next project, think about how WBS can help you succeed. Break down those complex goals, create that clear roadmap, and enjoy the journey.
And don't forget to celebrate those milestones along the way.
Absolutely. A little celebration never hurts. Thank you for tuning in to the Tech in 5 Wire channel. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the world of tech and innovation.
Until then, happy project planning.